this green SUV just blazing through the red light. As a young person, you always want to know what's the next best car I can get. What's fun? You like to go fast. I like stick shift. I like rear wheel drive. And when I was a younger guy and I had my Porsche 944s, which I was very fond of, I think they're a great car, great sports car. But a 944 isn't all that fast, and I want something a little bigger, a little better. And what fit the bill back then for me, budget-wise, was a later C4 Corvette. And it's hard to find one that was stick shift. The early ones from the 80s were that weird kind of 4+3. They were like a 4-speed with overdrive and 3 gears, and they were kind of funky, and they had the funky Death Star dash, which is all right. I've had a couple. But the later C4s from the early to mid-90s started to get a little bit more refined, a little more conventional, kind of nice. So they had a 6-speed gearbox if you could find it. So I was tracking one down. I found one for, I think, approximately $10,000. It had a reasonable amount of miles on it, pretty low. It was black on black. Not my first choice, but it was the best car for the money I could find. At that time, they were still worth a bit more money, so that was a pretty darn good deal. And my dad went with me to, of course, drive along, and if I bought it, I could be able to drive it back and whatnot. And I just remember it because I test drove it. It was a good car. I don't think it was hardly rough around the edges at all. Maybe there was like something little with the interior. But my dad was always one of those kind of people with cars that just nitpicked everything. I'm like, Dad, this is a used Corvette. Like, I got a deal. It's not a brand new car. But it was great. And I remember I made the deal with a guy. We were going to drive it to sign the title, transfer money, and push over. And I was driving, and it was raining. I still remember that. I was excited. I got a faster car. It's bigger. And I'm just driving it. And I push in the clutch, and it's like, and my dad freaks out. He's like, what's that noise? What's wrong with it? I'm like, Dad, my feet are wet from the rain. It's my foot squeaking on the clutch pedal. Like, that's the level of freaking out my dad would do about buying cars. I don't know why. But I got the car, drove it home from the Cleveland area, and just felt like $1 million. And I remembered, I was like, yeah, this is a man's car. When you get out to pass somebody in my 944, it might take a little while. But in the Corvette, it was more like, boom, torque, let's go. And I knew it was going to be a great match. It was a lot of fun. I didn't modify it like crazy. Just some little bit of personalizations. It kept the exhaust that was on it. I think all I did was like put better shocks on it, changed the oil, and I put some kind of Grand Sport S stripes on it. They were red in the front. And that was back in the days. I was younger. I was single, lived kind of out in the countryside a lot, and you're driving around in pretty Ohio summers and hooliganizing the world and going to Mid-Ohio, watching racing, and just having a great time like that. I also remembered when I had that, I started dating this girl, which you might remember from one of my other VINwiki stories, with the yellow race car. So we just had a great time. And the top came off of it, the Targa roof. So that was fun for me too, because it was a fast rear wheel drive car that came off, and it just felt carefree and American and awesome. And I remember one of the things I enjoyed so much about that, when I first started dating this girl, I think it was like our first or second date. We drove out, way out in the countryside, like you see in a movie, kind of overlook, it's pitch black and everything like that. And the stars were out. They're really beautiful away from the city. And I'm like, come on outside. And I just hopped up on the hood, laid down on the hood and laid up on the windshield like this, the glass. It's a C4 Corvette. That fiberglass is thick. It's fine. What is it going to get scuffed? I mean... The brownie points for the date alone is worth a few scuffs I have to polish out. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, it's a car. Let's have fun. Which I think a lot of women get sick of guys that are way too picky about their cars. So when you can just enjoy life with a Corvette that way, laying on the windshield and the hood like that, looking at the stars, it's just great. And that kind of set the stage for that time in my life and the Corvette. And it was just such an amazing memory. But there was the silly antics too. I remember the Targa roof that it had was the fiberglass one. It was opaque. And the special option for Corvettes at the time, you could have a clear one that was like heavily tinted. Of course, that's more money. I'm not going to spend that. And what I would do is the Corvette roof had Allen wrenches and a little wrench that came with the car, and that's how you took it off, which is kind of nice because it really bolts down hard, makes the car more rigid, whereas like an old Ferrari Thruway, it just kind of clamps in, not real strong. But it takes a lot of effort to take on and off. So in the summer, I would just drive with it off all the time, but I'd be afraid it might rain at night. So I would take the roof and I would just set it on the top. One day, and this was when I was younger and more cavalier, some guy drives by the house in a big truck and just takes a whole garbage bag and hucks it out the window, like right in front of me when I'm standing out there, and just garbage everywhere. And at that moment, I'm like, oh, hell no. And I don't know what I thought. I was like in an 80s cop show or something. I just jump in my Corvette, go ripping out. I don't know what I was going to do, but I just felt like I needed to do that. And I go ripping out, first gear, second gear, and all of a sudden I saw daylight at the front of the roof, and I go, I didn't bolt down the roof. Poof! Shot that thing straight up in the air like the first Fast and the Furious movie, you know, when they just launched the Supra Targa roof. And I'm like, poof, oh, thank God there was nobody behind me. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I pulled over, stopped on the street, walked back. It landed on the street and slid. And it kind of broke the fiberglass, but it actually fit back on and bolted on. So I used that as an opportunity to upgrade my car to the transparent roof option and also learn a lesson in, don't make quick cavalier decisions for litter bugs. I remember driving to Mid-Ohio. That was a blast, just when you'd spectate and watch and coming back home. And I had the car. It was my only car. And I lived in Ohio. I parked outside. There's snow. And the tires are pretty wide. I don't even know if it had all season tires or whatnot on it, but I drove that in the snow. And there was one morning I had an appointment. I was going to the gym, I was working out and whatnot, and I was snowed in. I could not get the car out of the driveway. I'm digging, I'm pushing. There was snow, and I was on this incline, and there was this ice layer underneath. It just was not happening. And I was getting really good at going reverse first with the lockout like this, you know, rocking the car. And then I thought about it. I'm like, if only I could make some heat. I'm like, I wonder if this will work. So I just, first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, put it in fifth gear like this and just sat there with this, just roasting it to create enough heat that I actually melted the ice underneath and started getting to the driveway to make enough that I could back up and then got out. So more of the story is Corvette makes its own snow melting. I really enjoyed the car. Yeah, it was a little rattly, but it was fast. It was fun. I remember just days feeling so good in the countryside, Ohio, driving it top down, you know, dating, you know, like you're out with your new girlfriend, gonna go somewhere for dinner, and you come to an intersection, left-hand corner, and the light turns green just the right time. There's nobody around. I'm like, I'm coming through here 45 degrees sideways. Perfect power slide, like right to the edge of lock. It's beautiful and smooth going. It was just like, and I probably remember this better than it was because I'm being all nostalgic, but I'm telling you, it was perfect. It was the perfect blend of American, like Corvette, countryside, young and carefree. And it just was that for me all the way around. And then, you know, you enjoy working on it, and changing the shocks, just doing it and feeling good. And the Corvette was funny because one day I was at the gym in the morning, and I was coming back, and I was going to meet a buddy of mine in Tiffin at Reno's. That's the Italian place downtown, family owned, all the fun in the world you have, just a warm little nook, right? We're going to meet there for lunch. And Tiffin's a funky little town. It has an absurd amount of one-way streets, which kind of creates this sort of circuit. So when you're young, everybody's driving together and people do silly things. And there's this one sharp corner up by the mall and Wendy's you can power slide around. I'm saying you can, not that I know that you could, but you can. And I was coming back, just driving absolutely normally on the one-way street all the way from the mall where I was working to go to Reno's. And downtown, there's a bank at the corner, like right on the corner. And the other corner is the police station, fire department, right there. Another bank over here, restaurants right there. I'm driving along, I'm in the left-hand lane of the one-way street, and green light, of course, coming right up to Reno, slowing down. I think I'm doing 25 miles an hour. But the bank's right here, and it's a blind corner. And I'm going to get right up to the light, and all of a sudden I see out of my corner of an eye, this green SUV just blazing through the red light. And I'm like, oh. So I hit the brakes, which is futile at this point. This is imminent. Which all that did was, I think, I was able to get on the brakes enough so that instead of getting T-boned in the door, it hit me in the firewall. And just absolutely, boom, blast the car. I come ripping over here, hit the cat-a-corner curve. Fortunately, there were no cars over here to the right. So this accident was just this SUV. I think it was driven by a young woman. She just didn't see that the light was red. She just come ripping through. And since the bank was there, I couldn't see it coming. But what's funny about this was, and everybody was fine, gets out, and I'm like, and I actually remember, and it's sort of funny, I'm glad I had the clear roof because I'm like, that was definitely a green light, right? And I just look up through the roof, I'm like, oh yeah, green light, I'm good. So I get out, and I'm in my workout clothes, I look like a dork. But I just wrecked my Corvette in front of the police station. And the police come walking out of the front with this smile on their face like this. They're like, hey, all right, you saved us a lot of effort. We didn't have to get in the car. I'm like, yeah, man, just coming back in left lane, green light, person ran the light, but yeah, I'm good. The hood's trashed and like the wheels pushed in. It was a lot like what happened to the Viper. Actually, it's like, come on, can I just keep a nice thing? Can you guys stop like doing this, please? But I was like, oh man, you gotta be kidding me. But it was actually really funny to me with the police. I'm like, yeah, man, no big deal. I just thought I'd save you guys some effort. Appreciate it, you know? And I was in a good mood, meeting some friends for lunch, and I started dating somebody new. So, you know, when you have a new relationship, you're always a little happier when you're a young person. So that was really cool. But it was also funny because the friend that I was meeting at the restaurant also helped me work on the GT40 I had in the past, fixing the transaxle when it blew up. And his mother, I forgot, worked at the police station in the second floor. So if you ever want to know what a small town is like, it is this. So me, wreck my Corvette in front of the police station. Buddy's mother works there, sees it from the second floor. Oh, Casey wrecked. Gets on the phone to her son. Hey, Keith, yeah, what car were you working on with Casey today? He's like, oh, that was the Ford. He's like, oh, okay. Well, he just wrecked the Corvette in front of the police station. So my buddies already knew about this before they got there, and they're like, ah. And now everything was fine. It was very uneventful. They were fine. I was even nice to the person that, you know, hit me. They didn't do it on purpose, clearly, and everybody was okay. So we went to lunch, and then, of course, being a small town, now my Corvette's leaving on a flatbed going around, so that got around like wildfire. It was absolutely ridiculous. A few years later, or something like that, there was the hot rod shop down the road from where I worked in Tiffin, got a Corvette to fix up. It was my same Corvette. And they fixed it. Ended up getting painted this gorgeous like metallic blue color. I think it was a little bit later, maybe like a 96 Corvette. And it got fixed up and lived on too. So I don't know, maybe that was my first go around of serendipity. Maybe I should have gotten my Corvette back like the time my Viper got wrecked. I really enjoy C4 Corvettes. They're reliable, they're fun, they're still economical. I guess they're not chic enough that everybody freaks out and they become worth too much. So I think it's just a great place for young people to have a lot of good old American fun. You know, and Radwood's a thing too, so I had fun with mine back then, and I think there's a whole nother world for young people to explore with a good old C4 Corvette.
Most of us carry around wallets that look a lot more like suitcases than like a toolkit for what we actually need for our day. The Ridge makes a line of wallets and bags that help you to carry exactly what you need and nothing you don't. So leave the junk at home and go to ridge.com/VINwiki and use the code VINwiki at checkout for a discount. Let them know how much you appreciate their support of the VINwiki channel.